back, Gothamites. If you're new here, hi. I'm London, aka History of the Batman. I love the beginning of September because it is all about my favorite TV show. This September 5th marked the 27th anniversary of the debut of the TV show Batman the Animated Series, and September 11th marked the 27th anniversary of the debut of its queen, Harley Quinn. Yes, look at this little girl right here. And since both of these events aren't national holidays in their own right, I am going to right this wrong by doing a video all about BTAS. For this video, I am highlighting 10 episodes from Batman the Animated Series and the new Batman Adventures were directly or heavily influenced by Batman comic books. But before we get truly animated, why don't you... Is that a frog in my throat? Subscribe to my channel and become part of this Batman community. Let's start off with one of the biggest fan favorite episodes in the entire 1990s series, and that is Almost Got 'Em. So this Paul Dini episode was loosely inspired by a David Verne Bronze Age classic. I actually discussed this comic in my Batman 101 guide on how to jump into reading Batman comics, which I'll put in the description below if you are someone who wants to know what they should read if they do want to jump into the Batman comic book world. But in David Verne and John Callan's 4-issue arc from 1977 titled Batman, Where Were You on the Night That Batman Was Killed?, which was published in Batman 291 to 294, the Gotham City crime world now believes that Batman is dead. And all of Batman's infamous rogues gallery want to say that they are the ones that finally took down the Dark Knight. Across these 4 issues, villains such as Catwoman, the Riddler, Lex Luthor, and even the Joker, of course the Joker, give their own testimonies on how they killed Batman. But in the end, you realize that Batman is actually in disguise within all of this courtroom, and he was disguised as Two-Face, who was the prosecutor. Because at least back then in the 1970s, Batman never actually dies. And I'm sorry if I gave you that spoiler at the end, but many of these elements, including that one, are all included in Almost Got 'Em, which first aired on November 10th, 1992. So in this episode, at the stacked deck, Poison Ivy, the Joker, Killer Croc, Penguin, and Two-Face are all sitting around playing poker, because that is what you do on your off time being a very dangerous criminal. And they're all complaining about how Batman is such a bad guy for stopping them from being criminals in Gotham, and how he always spoils their plans. And then the episode goes into each of them telling their best almost got him story, saying how they almost took out the Caped Crusader. In the end, very similar to David Verne story, Killer Croc shows that he is not Killer Croc, but Batman in disguise, and all of the people surrounding them in the stacked deck are actually undercover cops. The story also features Catwoman tied up in a cat food factory and about to be made into cat food to make Batman sad, because courtesy of Joker and Harley Quinn, and all of that, which is awesome. But the episode and the fantastic Bronze Age series is such a good Batman story that features so many of the rogues gallery. Another episode I quickly wanted to highlight is Appointment in Crime Alley, which was written by Jerry Conway and directed by Boyd Kirkland. I love Boyd Kirkland because he directed my favorite Batman the Animated Series episode, Perchance to Dream. And it came out on September 17th, 1992. Basically, the episode showcases Ronald Daggett. If you are familiar with the name Ronald Daggett, it is because you saw Christopher Nolan's 2012 film, The Dark Knight Rises. But Daggett actually was a BTAS made character. So you could thank this show for having that character in the film. Anyway, Daggett wants to tear down Crime Alley and build some stuff on it. And of course, Leslie Tompkins and Batman just can't have that. That episode is heavily influenced by Denny O'Neill's 1976 story, There Is No Hope in Crime Alley, which was illustrated by Dick Giordano and cover art by Neil Adams. And it was first published in Detective Comics issue 457. That comic is also, I believe, on my Batman 101 list, so like I said, check it out in the description below if you want to see more. Alright, our next episode is the Cape and Cowl Conspiracy. This Batman the Animated Series episode is not only a direct adaptation from Elliot S. Magen's story, The Cape and the Cowl Death Trap, which was published in 1975's Detective Comics issue 450, Magan himself wrote the episode, which originally aired on October 14th, 1992. The story goes, a hired hitman named Wormwood is asked to get Batman's cape and cowl, which leads to the Dark Knight trying to survive Wormwood's many death traps, including extreme heat lamps, which makes Batman have to take off his cape and the cowl, but don't worry, he covered his eyes and things like that, it's fine. But in the end, Batman is actually able to stop Wormwood when Wormwood goes to his boss and gives him the cape and the cowl, which turns out his boss is actually Batman in disguise. Because of course it's Batman in disguise. It's 1975. Of course it is. So from the name Wormwood even being used in the episode, and both the comic and the episode end with Batman leaving Wormwood his cape and the cowl with a note that's signed by Batman freaking Wormwood out. Like the biggest troll I have seen Batman do, or at least one of the biggest trolls that I've seen him do in this animated series. It's hilarious. This Elliot S. Magan story, both in the comics and the television show, are now true testaments to not only Bronze Age content, but also just a classic Batman story, no matter how you see it. Another episode that I quickly wanted to note that is a direct adaptation from a comic is A Bullet for Bullet. Say that fast like 10 times. It's, never thought about that. I'm not gonna do it on this camera, but like, I am going to try it later. The Frank Parr and Michael Reeves episode, which originally aired on September 14th, 1995, is the same plot that is in Chuck Dixon and Graham Nolan's story, A Bullet for Bullet, which was originally published in 1992's Detective Comics issue 651. And basically Detective Harvey Bullock, who isn't a big fan of Batman at this point, is being targeted by some assassin, by some murderer who just wants him dead. And so he literally has to ask Batman to help protect his life, even though he really doesn't want to ask Batman. But Batman's the only one that can figure out who is trying to kill him. Okay, our next episode is The Laughing Fish, which is one of my most favorite Batman stories, period. I don't care what form. In comics, in animation, it just is. I love it so much because it's so ridiculous. So Paul Dini and Bruce Timm's Batman the Animated Series episode, The Laughing Fish, which originally aired on January 10th, 1993, is a direct adaptation of Steve Englehart and Marshall Rogers' stories, The Laughing Fish and Sign of the Joker, which were originally published in 1978's Detective Comics issue 475 to 476. The gist of both of these two-part stories, in the small part of the big arc Batman Strange Apparition, the Joker has made all of the fish in Gotham City's harbor look like him. They're all Jokerized with his Joker toxin, and he wants to trademark the fish and call them Joker Fish. However, G. Carl Francis of the Copyright Offices tells Joker that he can't possibly do this because you cannot trademark a natural resource. In the episode, when Harley Quinn introduces Joker going into the Copyright Office and he's going to talk to Carl Francis, that laugh that he does entering the office is my favorite Mark Hamill Joker laugh of all time. I'm not even exaggerating.
Look alive, wage slaves! Presenting that caliph of clowns, that mogul of mountebanks, the one and only Joker!
I have seen Mark Hamill's Joker in everything he's done as Joker, and all of his laughs are amazing. The fact that they're all unique in their own way. This always makes me so happy. I mean, if I am having a bad day and I need to smile, I will literally go and play this clip on YouTube or go and watch the episode on DC Universe or something. That always just makes me laugh. Once the Joker finds out that he can't trademark his fish, he threatens Francis because it's Francis' fault that he can't trademark a natural resource, but whatever. And he says he's going to kill Francis at midnight. And even though Commissioner Gordon and the Batman are trying to stop this, They are too late, and Francis unfortunately dies and is Jokerized. So the next day the Joker goes on TV, like he usually does and has been doing since literally 1940, and announces that he is going to kill Thomas Jackson next, and many other people until he is able to trademark his Joker fish. Since the announcement on TV, Commissioner Gordon, Batman, the GCPD, SWAT, just everybody is literally at this man's house trying to make sure Joker doesn't kill him, and then they realize that Joker was just one step ahead and decided to Jokerize Thomas Jackson's cat, and he tries to attack his owner, Big Jokerized. Now, while Jackson dies in the comics, in the episode, Batman is actually able to cure both Francis and Thomas Jackson. No one dies in Batman the Animated Series. I learned that from watching the show, and when I was on panel with Kevin Conroy, that's what he told me. They did not want to kill anyone because it is still a kids TV show. Literally the only people that can die are like people's parents, like Bruce Wayne's parents, Dick Grayson's parents. Parents can die, that's fine, but no one else. But the end of the episode is actually influenced by another story, and that is another classic. Of course it is. And that is Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams' story, The Joker's Five-Way Revenge, and that was originally published in Batman issue 251. And both Batman and Joker fight in a local aquarium. There's a shark involved, all of that. That is based off the ending of that comic. And of course at the end, Joker disappears. He like runs into the bay and Batman can't find him because Joker always disappears. Because there are no consequences for being Joker. Literally, Joker can do whatever he wants and nothing happens to him. So, it's like watching an episode of Dragon Ball. Everyone's like, oh, this person dies, this person dies. But then guess what? They just wish Shinron to wish them back and there are no consequences for dying. So, same thing. Anyway, both Englehart and Dee Dee's The Laughing Fish is just iconic storytelling and amazing Joker stories, but also Batman stories. Speaking of Steve Englehart and Marshall Rogers, our next story is The Strange Secret of Bruce Wayne, another awesome story and episode. Because it involves Hugo Strange, and Hugo Strange is like, he's so crazy. Anyway, this story is also part of Batman's Strange Apparitions as a whole, but it is a two-parter by Englehart and Rogers called The Dead Yet Live and I Am the Batman, which was published in Detective Comics issue 471 and 472. And the story talks about Hugo Strange, which by the way, in Detective Comics 471 was actually Hugo Strange's first Earth 1 appearance. His first Earth 2 appearance was way back in the Golden Age. Hugo Strange secretly runs the medical resort that Bruce Wayne goes to after fighting Dr. Phosphorus and obtaining really horrible injuries. And after drugging him and locking him away, and of course Bruce Wayne changing into Batman and trying to figure out how to fix this, Hugo Strange is actually able to take off Batman's cowl and see that Bruce Wayne and Batman are one and the same. And because he knows the secret identity, he keeps Bruce Wayne locked up, takes the Batman costume, and starts pretending that he's Bruce Wayne / Batman. He starts running Wayne Enterprises, he's running around the city, or at least running around in the Batman suit. He's even kind of weirding out Silver Satan Cloud. It's a whole thing. Then he locks up Alfred. It's craziness anyway. And in the comic, Hugo Strange decides, ooh, I should probably auction off the secret and make mad money. Of course, 3 people are interested in this auction. There is the Joker, of course. There's the Penguin, and then there is the very corrupt Rupert Thorne. Rupert Thorne, he's the baddest. He's like, I don't want to give my money. So he decides to get all of his henchmen to kidnap Hugo Strange and torture him into telling them who Batman is. And Hugo Strange, who is already crazy, is like, no, can't do that. And he is seemingly killed by Thorne's men. Of course, Hugo Strange comes back, he's not dead, blah, blah, blah. Just like everybody else. Many elements from these 2 Steve Englehart stories are in Frank Parr's The Strange Secret of Bruce Wayne, which originally aired on October 29th, 1992, including Batman and Alfred being locked away, and a very now hilarious scene of Joker, the Two-Face, and Penguin putting their money towards figuring out who Batman is. They eventually want to pool all of their money together and just learn the secret and go off into Gotham and do whatever it is they're gonna do with this knowledge. I think the reason why this Englehart story was used for the episode is a huge part of it being such a classic even 20-some years later. I mean, it's so dope. Our next episode is Off Balance. The character of Talia al Ghul, she is such a horrible woman. Debuted in the story Into the Den of the Death Dealers. That alliteration is literally killer. By Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams. In 1971's Detective Comics issue 411 was loosely adapted into Lynn Wein and Kevin Altieri's Batman the Animated Series episode Off Balance, which originally aired on November 23rd, 1992. For the rest of the video, I'm going to be mentioning Kevin Altieri a little bit, and if you're like, who's Kevin Altieri? Well, he is an awesome director and storyboard artist for Batman the Animated Series, New Batman Adventures, all kinds of awesome Batman animated work. And he was on my San Diego Comic-Con panel, which I had filmed by Comic-Con, which very, very awesome. So if you want to watch that along with Dan Reba and Mike Goguen, who have all worked on awesome DCAU films and TV episodes and other Batman content as well. Speaking of which, Mike Goguen was a co-creator of the 2004 TV show The Batman, which debuted on September 11, 2004. So technically that anniversary happened as well. That show's 15 years old now. Crazy. But I do talk with him a little bit about creating The Batman and all his other work. So if you like any of that, go watch my panel. I'll put that in the description below as well. The biggest difference between the episode and the story is the fact that Ra's al Ghul is interested in Off Balance, and in this story, he's not there yet. Talia, his daughter, is introduced before Ra's in the comics, which I understand why, but at the time it's like, oh, that's weird, you know. We'll get there, it's fine. But in the comics, Batman follows the very, very shady Dr. Dark and the League of Assassins, who after their first altercation just knock Batman out. Batman wakes up to Talia al Ghul, the very beautiful and very sus woman who just took off his cowl and knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman. So that's where all of the trust issues begin. So not only did Talia save his life and not have him fall into a coma, but then later when they fight in this issue, Talia literally pulls out her gun and shoots Dr. Dark because he's tried to stab Batman and kill him, and she already has an infatuation with Bruce Wayne. But in the episode, it's basically the same. Talia helps Batman take down the Society of the Shadows. So if you have the comic book League of Assassins and the animated Society of the Shadows, put them together and you have the League of Shadows. And that's where Christopher Nolan got the name, because it's all the same thing. Both the comics and the episode have Talia and Batman fighting the League Assassins of Society Shadows, or whatever combination of those really long, scary names you want to do. And Talia's gun is involved in both the animated show and the comic, which hilarious. Continuing on this very interesting Batman, Talia, gun, shadows relationship, our next episode is The Demon's Quest, which is iconic. So this episode, of course, was adapted straight from the comics, which I appreciate, and two of my favorite Batman comics ever. And I know I keep saying that in this episode, but literally, the creators are taking some of the best Batman comics ever to be written and animated them. Like, just so amazing. But we see these comics come to life in the two-part episode Demon Quest, which was written by Denny O'Neil and Lynn Wein and directed by Kevin Altieri. And they both debuted on May 3rd and 4th of 1993. The episode was adapted from Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams' story Daughter of the Demon, which was originally published in 1971's Batman issue 233. And The Demon Lives Again, which was published in 1972's Batman 244. Because Batman 244 is amazing. Before we get into the story, I love this cover. And the reason why I love this cover is not just because it's Neil Adams and his art is amazing and all those things. I even have this comic and it's signed by Neil Adams. But I love the fact that Ra's is holding Batman's entire bat suit in his hand, yet on the ground, Batman is shirtless but still has the cowl on and the pants. I get it. I understand the symbolism. I do, I promise. I'm not being a picky person. but that's hilarious. Like, Batman just has an extra pair of pants on him so Roz can just show off his whole bat suit. Like, we love the emblem. I get it. We love them colors. I just don't understand. Daughter of the Demon, the first story, has the comic book debut of Ra's al Ghul, who knows Batman's secret identity of being Bruce Wayne and literally is sitting in his bat cave waiting for Bruce. But how in the world could he figure out who Bruce Wayne is? We have no idea how he did that. And Ra's is there to tell Bruce that both Dick Grayson, aka Robin at the time, and his daughter Talia were kidnapped by the same person, and they have to work together to track down the kidnapper and save their respected people. And Batman's like, wow, this is all real sus, but I do want to get Dick Grayson back because he's basically my son, so let's go! So Batman follows Ra's and his manservant Ubu, this giant man who could just beat up anybody, except Batman, kinda sorta. Anyway, you find that out in that comic, but it all turns out this is all a ruse, and no one was really kidnapped. Ra's al Ghul made this whole thing a test to show that Batman would be the rightful heir to the League of Assassins once he dies, because he's the head of the League Assassins of Shadowy Society. Like, he's the guy. And this was also a test to show that he is the right suitor for Talia. But anyway, the next issue kind of skips other storylines in between where Batman fights Ra's. He finds out he's a really horrible person. He almost dies. Ra's dips himself into the Lazarus pit, and then ta-da, he comes back to life. So that's what you missed on last week's episode of Glee. So in Batman 244, the demon lives again, the one with the shirtless Batman on the cover. Batman learns that Ra's al Ghul is alive again thanks to his handy-dandy Lazarus pit. Batman tracks him down to the desert. An epic shirtless sword fight and hand-to-hand combat fight commences. And literally it lasts for hours and hours. It's like they are so matched fighting. It lasts for such a long time. And the only reason why Batman goes down and loses is because a poisonous scorpion bites him and literally he's about to die. But Talia, being the crazy chick that she is, has scorpion antidote on her to make sure he doesn't die, gives it to him, and he slowly recovers and is fine. But Ra's literally leaves him in the desert to die because why not? Now, of course, this episode combines both elements, from the kidnappings to the shirtless fight to Batman pretty much finding out that Ra's al Ghul is using Lazarus pits to bring himself back to life. He wants to kill pretty much everyone on the planet and restart anew because that is the fork that he knows. That is what he likes to do. And it's just epic. If you want to see a shirtless Ra's al Ghul and Batman fight in animation, like not just read it, this is the episode for you. And the fact that the original writers came back to do these episodes makes it even better. We have 2 more episodes. Our next one is Legends of the Dark Knight. This episode from the new Batman Adventures, which originally aired on October 10th, 1998, was based on the 1973 story The Batman Nobody Knows, which was by Frank Robbins and Dick Giordano, and originally published in Batman issue 250. This comic basically shows the Batman listening to 3 different stories on 3 different people's encounters with the Dark Knight himself, who is basically an urban legend within Gotham City. So the fact that they're all different stories and how they envision Batman and how they see him is actually pretty cool to Batman's mythology within the in-universe context, because Batman is almost seen to most people as not real. He's an urban legend because they don't really think that some guy is running around dressed up like a bat taking down criminals and trying to get justice. That just sounds crazy. But anyway, all this craziness will take it into Robert Goodman and Bruce Timm's episode. Basically, 3 Kims, Matt, Carrie, and Nick, are on the streets of Gotham, just minding their own business, maybe getting into some havoc, whatever, it's fine. And they all are talking about how they see Batman, either how they have seen him in person or what they think Batman is or how Batman is, and all actually represent different comics or different eras within Batman's history, which is why I personally do love this episode. So Matt knows Batman through the stories that his uncle has told him. And this sequence actually pays homage to the golden age of comics, like I mentioned earlier, which is the 1940s, 1950s style, that are based off comics by creators such as Bill Finger and Dick Sprang. Now, Carrie's Batman is actually a direct link to Batman The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller and Klaus Janson, and Carrie is of course similar to Carrie Kelly, who is in the sequence which is taken straight from The Dark Knight Returns issue number 2, Batman Triumphant, where Batman fights the mutant leader. Now before the animated films Batman DKR Part 1 and 2 came out in the later 2000s, this is the first time we really saw Batman Dark Knight Returns in any type of animated form. So it's really cool, especially since DKR is a groundbreaking comic and a Batman classic. And then Nick is the only out-of-the-box one that really thinks that Batman is like a huge giant with like talons that scoops up people and flies into the night. Basically kind of like a man-bat-ish figure. So more scary, more like a literal beast than an actual man doing things. Which is totally fine because it really falls into the urban legend aspect of Batman. You thinking he's like a giant monster running around Gotham, scooping up people, flying into the night, like that's extra. But that falls right into the narrative that I'm sure Batman wants, is to scare everybody. Of course, the story ends with the real Batman going up against Firefly. This episode not only pays homage to all of the Batman comics that we mentioned and the original one, but also the title Legend of the Dark Knight is based off of the 1989 publication Batman Legend of the Dark Knight, which at the time was the first solo book that Batman had in about 40 years. So it's all iconic and it's all celebrating Batman's awesome milestones and eras throughout his long history. I think it is good to end on a very Harley Quinn note since it is her anniversary as well. I am talking about Mad Love, which literally, if you've read the comic, which was a graphic novel by Paul Dini and Bruce Timm, the two creators who made Harley Quinn, and it was in February 1994's The Batman Adventures Mad Love, then you have basically watched the episode. It is a direct adaptation. For the episode, Dini and Timm came back to write it and animate it, and it originally came out on January 16th, 1999, and it was directed by Butch Lukic. Mad Love, in both the animated and comic book medium, tells the origin story of Dr. Harleen Quinzel, who was an intern and started working at Arkham Asylum, and one of her patients was the Joker. And after him telling story after story about his horrible childhood and how everything happening to him isn't his fault, Harley eats that up and not only falls in love with the Joker, but actually believes that Batman is the one that is the reason why Joker is the way that he is. And to show how much she is in love with this man, she buys a jester costume, dresses up, changes her name to Harley Quinn, and breaks Joker out of Arkham Asylum. And forever has this vendetta against Batman because he's just so mean to her. But of course, both the comic and the episode flash back to the current time when Joker is trying to figure out the perfect plan to take down the Batman. And when Harley wants to spend time with him, wants to give her ideas, wants to help, Joker just, you know, kicks her out of the hideout and pushes her and shoves her and just domestic violence. Of course, Harley takes everything into her own hands and she kidnaps Batman herself, puts him in the plan that Joker wanted to do to take out Batman. So when Joker finds that out, he's actually real mad at Harley because she just brought to life the plan he literally wanted to do. So it's her fault. That ends with Joker kicking Harley out of a window and her falling into like a dumpster or something. Both of them end with Harley back at Arkham, crazy as heck, but all beaten up because she fell out of a window. She's lucky she didn't die. And then she's like, oh yeah, I'm so done with Joker. No more obsessing over him. No more Joker. No more clowns. I'm done. And then Joker sends her like a get well soon flower card thing, and she's like, oh my god, like she's all excited. I don't know what that voice was because that's not Harley. She has a Brooklyn accent. I'm sorry, I don't know. So out of these 10 episodes, and there are other episodes in both Batman the Animated Series and the new Batman Adventures that have been influenced by comics that we didn't discuss in this video, just show that not only did Batman the Animated Series celebrate the Batman and his villains and his mythology and everything and brought it to life in a new way not seen on TV before, but it also celebrated the many different eras and creators and just storylines that shaped Batman into who he is and put it all on the small screen for new and old fans to discover and love. I just think them using actual comics and creating these episodes is a huge reason why still 27 years later everyone is obsessed and just loves this classic and very nostalgic DCAU series. Thank you guys so much for watching this video about Batman the Animated Series episodes based off Batman comics. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. As always, all of my social media is linked in the description below, including Instagram at History of the Batman. So why don't you go to follow and become a Gothamite? Check out my videos for DC Comics CC Fans channel, and of course, please subscribe to this channel so you can become part of this Batman community. It would mean so much to me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will have more History of the Batman soon, right here on YouTube. Remember, Gothamites, that was so rude. Remember, Gothamites, it's all about peace, love, and Batman. Bye.